Are the Chiefs happy with their wide receivers? Is Seth happy with the Chiefs' offensive line? Is Nate happy to be back on the show? We'll answer all those questions, some of them even truthfully, here on Only Weird Games.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
The crew's back together here, Only Weird Games on KC Sports Network. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, and the return of Nate Taylor. Nate, how was your road trip? The Chiefs had some problems. They had some ups and downs. How was the trip for you?
The trip was great. Spent a lot of time in the village. Went all the way out to Queens. Flew out of Newark, New Jersey. So all over the map over the course of the last few days. The weather was excellent. I can't stress that enough for how sweaty I felt the entire time in Jacksonville. I felt really comfortable in New York City / East Rutherford. How do they say it? East Rutherford?
East Rutherford, I think.
I know that you guys didn't talk about Taylor Swift, and I applaud you.
I tried. I had my hat.
Yes. I love the dismount that Seth provided about another famous person. So in light of that, I think Paul Rudd knows who I am. So that was cool for him to say hello, which is
Don't
amazing.
skip that. Hey, Nate, don't pretend like I'm going to let you skip that.
Yeah. Look, it's always
I made Paul
nice.
Rudd smile once, so.
It's always nice when now he actually came up to the press box. He actually came up to my domain with Clark Hunt and his family, and it was like, wow, this is really cool. And yes, Hugh Jackman was there. I had to explain to one of my very good friends in sports journalism who Ryan Reynolds was. So that was a fun 10 minutes where this person knew Taylor Swift, obviously, but didn't know Ryan Reynolds. And
Can
then
we guess? Can we guess?
Yeah.
Put this person on blast?
You can guess if you want. I can obviously tell. I can say their name, but I just
Was it someone on the Chiefs beat, or was it a Jets or national person?
National.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's not as fun. Then I don't know who it is.
Okay, yeah, it's national.
Okay.
But one of the best parts about seeing Ryan Reynolds I know White Bacon. Who doesn't know who Ryan Reynolds is in 2013?
What year is it?
It's Jory Epstein of Yahoo Sports.
What?
That's who didn't know.
What?
Who
What?
Ryan Reynolds
What?
was.
What?
And so Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports as well, who I'm pretty friendly with. Jory let me see the text exchange of Charles realizing, oh my gosh, he doesn't know who Ryan Reynolds is. So that was a fun.
Jory's not old.
Jory's younger than me.
I was like, she is a young media, like a young sports media reporter in the scope of sports media.
Incredibly talented. Has
Wow.
won numerous awards. Used to work at USA Today.
Yeah.
But yeah, is at Yahoo Sports now. And it was the first time we saw each other this season, of course, because a lot of national reporters were like, Chiefs Jets week 4.
Book those tickets. Yep. And then
So that was cool, which leads me to the last person I'll mention, who I believe was the most important person, because they were the wing woman to Taylor Swift. Does anybody know who I'm thinking of?
Well, here, hang on for a second. You said it's the most important person, but Nate, I wasn't in New York.
of the celebrities, of the collection of celebrities, Seth, who I found to be most important, not named Taylor Swift.
I mean, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you're talking about survivor of one of the scariest great white shark attacks that I've ever seen, Blake Lively.
She was incredible. Yes, that's obviously who I'm mentioning. I
thought it was 50-50 that Seth would not know who Blake Lively was. So
yes.
I understood that reference. I've watched, I think, Gossip Girl is the thing that it is called. Man, that show's really inappropriate for being about high school kids.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of shows about high schoolers are, Seth. I hate to tell you, but
high schoolers trying to be more than high schoolers. So wow. It's fascinating content that you can put to
that
really
Blair
any...
was mean. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just saying things now. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Nate. Keep going.
No,
Keep
it's
learning
just
things about Seth.
You do, fellow kids.
I just thought it was.
I don't
really
think the kids
cool.
watch Gossip Girl. I think.
Oh
Like-
yeah, I suppose because that came out like 20 years
20
ago,
years
right?
ago. Yeah.
No.
There's a
joke.
new Gossip Girl.
No joke, dog. No joke.
There's
They've
a-
rebooted it.
Yeah, they rebooted it like 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know what I'm doing here other than probably causing like many people to just tune out right now, and I just apologize.
The original
Gossip-
2007 TV series. Interesting. Yeah.
We're getting there.
Went off air in 2012. Yeah, it's been 10 years and change.
So look, I know the NFL, whatever your opinion is, that's fine. With them showing Taylor's reaction to the Isaiah Pacheco touchdown run, just look to the right. Just look at Blake Lively being like, that's my girl's team scoring touchdowns. Why are we celebrating? Oh my God. Like it was excellent. I know Blake Lively's seen football games. But I just thought she was like kind of the perfect, again, wing woman that I didn't anticipate being there. And of course, I know somebody has already said, well, what about Brittany Mahomes? What about Miss Quarterback herself? Look, they obviously chatted. They've obviously had dinner together. That's been a fun, again, sort of subplot in this very strange season so far. But it was clear to like people of the East Coast who may also live in New York. Taylor's like, I'm gonna go to the game. You want to ride through? And she was like, I'll even bring Brian Reynolds. So look, I mean, that's where we are in the 2023 Week 5 season. Where breaking they chatted. Thank you. I mean, look,
people were allowed to hang out with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
that's all I know.
Anthony from Queer Eye was there, and he was like the biggest star in the world like 4 years ago, I feel like, and he is not even mentioned in any of the stories
at
now.
all. Like
I asked him about Patrick Mahomes putting ketchup on steak one time, and he said it wasn't that big of a deal. Fun fact for everybody: he said he was more offended by ketchup on hot dogs than he was ketchup on steak. The rest of the panel freaked out about it. He's the foodie.
Interesting. What?
I know. Greatest day of my life.
Oh, so is he more mustard guy?
I think so. I'd have to go back and check the tape. It was a minute ago. But they did that season in Kansas City and then did a couple like press events after. Right. And so I was like, hi. At that point, I was like, I'm under the umbrella of ESPN Kansas City. I said that to them, and 4 of the 5 recoiled. It was great. It was hilarious. So, they answered my questions very, very kindly.
So Seth, Hugh Jackman, Hugh Jackman
went 0-16.
It does that. I mean, look, he was in the background. That's okay. It happens.
Because when you are the greatest showman, you don't need to push yourself in the foreground. Everyone knows he could have at any moment either sung like an angel or disemboweled everyone in the entire room. You show me someone with that kind of range, my friend. Do you remember? Seriously, my first exposure to Hugh Jackman was as Wolverine, and then I watched Kate and Leopold like a year later. I was like, whoa, that's Hugh Jackman too? Yep. I mean, no one has that kind of range. This has apparently become a thing that I am going to go to the wall over because I think I actually believe it.
It's a good take.
Even Tom Cruise is like, but what role can I do to prove myself? Even Titanic song. Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't have the same plethora of
he doesn't have Wolverine range. Hell no. Are you kidding me?
Doesn't have the same resume, So all this is to say is that, Donna Kelsey comes in, everybody makes it a point to make sure that she is on the screen. Also, it's 20-20. What is going on?
Yeah. The football left something to be desired, but that's
Now, I do love Ross saying, what about Johnny Depp? See, Johnny Depp does not have the longevity of...
Oh, I was like, was he there? He meant just like as an actor with range. Interesting.
Yes, but he doesn't have the longevity. He doesn't have the Hall of Fame resume.
No, and it's a lot of, he just plays a lot of weirdos, which like I appreciate, but Jack Sparrow and Willy Wonka in his telling are like, cut from the same cloth.
He can't be like physically toxic masculinity intimidating the way like the way Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman can be like genuinely intimidating And also just this complete, what I know it's like alpha, beta, sigma. There's all kinds of males in the Greek alphabet these days. And apparently, do you want to be one of them or not one of them?
It depends on who you want to take that advice from, I think. But yeah.
I don't even know who's saying these things. I just see them online occasionally. Hugh Jackman is the entire Greek alphabet of masculinity.
The point is that no one's.
Oh, and Christian Bale. Good point.
Yeah, Christian Bale's the next one. That's a great take.
Yeah.
Good call, Eric.
Also, but no one's been Wolverine. That's the thing. I guess Christian Bale is the closest that we have among us. But
someone just asked one of you hits on married women at the gym.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
Look,
of course he does.
Let me just tell you. Okay, I'm sorry. We will talk Chiefs here, I'm sure, in like 3 minutes. But let me just say, if I'm at the gym with my wife, whom I love, I would do anything for her. Can't believe I married her.
In a suit, mind you.
Let's say Hugh Jackman walks in a suit, mind you, or in anything.
You're
literally
in a suit.
anything. And he walks up to Jazz and starts talking to her. I will walk up to where they are, take off my ring, place it on the thing, and say, I get it. We had a good run. Hate to go out this way, but I get it. And then I'm going.
One day, can I be invited for the Ring of Honor, sir?
Yeah, could I be invited to maybe say a few words at the wedding?
Yeah,
You'll be a better father than I am. Yeah. You'll be a better husband than I am. We all get it, Hugh Jackman. We all get it. And so that's how I would react to that particular. And I mean, he's a lot older than me, so I assume, I'll remarry Jazz in 20 years or whatever, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, you think you're going to successfully outlive or maybe kill Hugh Jackman. Good luck, Seth. The one flaw in your plan.
I knew something was going to go.
So, fellas, I think this is a very important week for Kadarius Toney.
12 minutes and 3 seconds.
Look, guys.
Samuel just joined and he's panicking about receivers. Samuel, you wouldn't be panicking if you'd listened to us talk about Hugh Jackman for the last 8 minutes.
Yeah, this is whenever. Just listen, everybody take a deep breath. We'll get to it, all right? Chill.
Yep. Blake Lively. Just someone clip it.
She killed a shark with a shipwreck.
Look, who is someone who could say, I'm coming to something, kind of on my own, everybody knows I'm gonna be there, but I can't come by myself. Obviously, that is socially awkward. So who can I call? That's one of my girlfriends.
Yeah,
who's a better quality girlfriend than Blake Lively in the streets right now? Who can do that? Who can just say, "Hey, Blake, I don't know what you're doing on Sunday, but I've
got a list of people who can do that right here."
Yeah,
it just doesn't exist.
I mean, it's hard. And look, you're gonna meet Brittany. Guess what? Ryan is gonna get to meet Pat after the game. So come on down. And I guess the Jets are playing. I don't know who's on there.
Well, apparently Zach Wilson, who has morphed somehow into, they got to witness a Monstars incident. I mean, all these things happened. They got to watch Zach Wilson play quarterback nearly perfectly for exactly 2 drives.
2 quarters.
He's like, what is happening? He's escaping Chris Jones. He's escaping everyone and he's firing darts while Patrick Mahomes is making throws that made everyone kind of tilt their head.
When the ball, so from where we were sitting in the press box is behind the end zone where the Jets scored their 2 touchdowns. Again, the first one is hilarious because however you feel about the officiating, all of a sudden Dana's helmet's just on the turf and
for legal reasons. Definitely should not have been penalized. Definitely did not affect the game in any way.
And Justin Reid steps into his helmet while trying to cover CJ Uzomah, and he's just like, whose helmet is this?
Yeah, why is there a helmet on the ground? Is there a head in there?
On the field? So again, one of probably the most hilarious All-22 I've seen this year is Justin Reid going, Mike, was that your helmet? And Mike being like, yep, that was mine.
Sorry, dude.
So
shout out to Justin Reid on a side note for getting in pretty good position in coverage after stepping in a helmet.
Yes, into a helmet.
That was incredible.
Actual helmet.
The only way it could have been better would have been if the helmet somehow got stuck on his foot and he kept running with a helmet boot and still managed to get there. That would have been amazing, but it was still awesome.
So the second, so Zach Wilson throws the second touchdown, and where we are again in the live 22 from the press box, you can tell Brian Cook's like, you're not going to throw this. Holy smokes, he's going to throw this.
Yep.
Oh, my God. And Brian Cook read him like a book, and the ball still somehow got there. And that's what I said. It's a different ball game, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. And what, did he just beat Willie Gay to the spot on the 2-point?
He did.
They only play the weirdest games. Like, how? So with all that being said, it's a huge week for Kadarius Toney, guys. I cannot stress this enough. Andy Reid said that no, we don't need Chase Claypool. Matt Nagy said, no, everybody's getting open. And somewhere Kadarius Toney will play more than like 25% of the snaps, right? It's gotta be this week. Kadarius Toney has the biggest spotlight on him. Okay, we're 5 weeks into the season. The man's only played 19% of the snaps, and he was supposed to be the number one receiver.
I'm gonna segue every conversation I have from now on is, so it's a big week for Kadarius Toney. That's just what I'm gonna say from now on. If Jazz and I are fighting and I'm trying to change the subject, I'm supposed to preach on October 15th. If I get lost somewhere up there, I'm just gonna get up behind the pulpit and be like,
it's a big week.
So it's a big week for Kadarius Toney, guys. And watch a bunch of Baptists go like, what? And I'll be like, where to begin?
Now,
oh my goodness.
I say that both tongue and cheek just because obviously we're all here to have fun.
None of that audio came through. I gotta start reminding both of you to adjust your audio settings before we start.
Oh no,
recording.
was my audio bad?
No, yours is fine. I just need to
it's
do it for
fine.
both of you every. I just forget. I forget to check sometimes.
It's kind of a big week for Kadarius Toney.
It.
He gets open, but they don't put him on the field.
Part of the advantage of doing the show on video and watching the show on video is even when you can't audibly hear Nate, you can try to read his lips, and that adds a whole other element to it.
It does. So that's a really good point, though, that they need someone who can show they can separate
Hey,
against
yo,
man.
no. I think Michael B. Jordan also has range. Let's take a break.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Am I the only one that sees a little clock in the corner for us? See how long we've been live and I hadn't taken a break yet? You see that little number up there that says 18 minutes? We needed to take a break before we could talk about real football things.
Oh, am I supposed to be reading the private chat?
No, if you just get out of my way so I can throw to a break, that'd be enough, actually.
I want to talk to the people.
So, Seth, you were saying about Kadarius Toney, the Chiefs really could use someone who can get open against man this week. Which Andy Reid said on Monday the Vikings are going to do, which is just crazy because I can't tell if he let one slip or if he's gaslighting the entire NFL. But Andy Reid's Monday presser mentioning, like, here's what we're expecting from the Vikings was weirdly straightforward. I don't know what it means. Nate, what does that mean?
Well, as the person who asked the question to Andy
Did you
Reid,
really?
I was like, hey, coach, everyone's zone against you. And he was like, don't worry, Nate. Brian Flores is going to play us. He's going to play man. And I said,
I think he's gaslighting Brian Flores.
That's what I think it might be. Yeah.
Coach, I asked you about zone, coach. Coach,
don't worry, Nate.
Zone. Don't worry, Nate. They're going to play man next week. Huh? What?
And that it's just such an interesting thing. And they might, because the Vikings blitz all the time. They blitz so much. Like the jokes about Spags, and they're not always jokes, it depends. Like he's like on the permanent Jordan Love 2021 game plan. Brian Flores is right now. He's like, guys, our defensive line, we traded away Zadarius Smith for a bag of chips, and the Chiefs still didn't offer anything for him, but whatever. I will forever be a little irritated about that because
I know.
But I mean, they're just snap at, like Harrison Smith had like 3 sacks last week. And that's like, so I've got fans or friends that are Vikings fans. Well, I have acquaintances. Well, I have people that are forced to interact with me sometimes, and they're Vikings fans. And a lot of them, Smith, what a blitzer. It's like, okay, look, if a safety's getting sacks, that's a game plan thing. That is not, that's not like he's lining up on the edge and showing a great rip move. That's not how this works. But they blitz all the time, and often what you see from that is man coverage on the back end with single high. This could be the MVS game if that's the route they go. But I think the Tony thing is a really good point because they need someone to beat man coverage. Josh and I talked about this a little bit on Tuesday, that there were man coverage snaps, and Rashee Rice was not a man coverage beater in college. That wasn't really his thing. Now, can he become developed enough in his route tree and comfortable enough with catching contested passes that he can be a guy that you can rely on a little bit with man coverage? Because it's not like Juju Smith-Schuster was out there separating against man either. He just was comfortable making physical catches even when he was covered. So if Rice can do that, then he can be dangerous enough against man coverage to be a guy there, and then you combine everything else he does well. But they need someone that can separate against man or make contested catches, and it doesn't seem like they're ready for Rice to be the advanced guy. So again, if not now for Kadarius Toney, when?
We're coming up on a year, guys. We're coming up on a year, and I have these conversations with Carrington Harrison on Fridays on 610, and he made this point to me, and I had no way to refute it, ladies and gentlemen. We're almost a year from when they made the trade for Kadarius Toney, and inarguably his best game as a Chief when not playing in the Super Bowl was his second game as a Chief against the Jacksonville Jags. That was his best game in the Chiefs uniform, and because of the injuries and the unfortunate timing of those injuries, he has not been really allowed to play a full game this season outside of opening night. But Next Gen Stats tells me that the one player who gets open consistently when he runs routes is Kadarius Toney. It's a fascinating oddity.
He had a couple of nice slant looks on Sunday where you can see that movement. It's hard to stick with that guy.
And for whatever reason, they've been cautious. But the reason I bring him up is all the advanced stats lend you to believe that, again, you're almost a year into the trade and you want him to be your number one receiver. It's time to let the, is there a better analogy that doesn't involve animals?
There was because there was a thing a few years back. Nate, that one didn't come through at all either.
Dang it.
That's okay. If you check on the chat there, I think Tucker and I have the two buttons for you to click. I think we'll redeem your audio. But there, back in the old Almost Entirely Sports days, PETA put out a list of updated idioms that didn't involve animal abuse. So beating a dead horse was changed to feeding a fed horse. But the problem is if you're feeding a fed horse, you're overfeeding a horse. So that one didn't really make sense to me. But I believe in most of these I have committed to memory. I believe instead of letting the cat out of the bag, I believe it was letting the pickles out of the jar. I'll look it up.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you say, if it's in terms of the whole wide receiver one thing, wouldn't the expression be it's time to poo or get off the pot?
Or let the dog go hunting. Let him hunt.
Yeah, let the dog hunt. I like let the dog hunt.
Yeah, just see what happens. I think they had high hopes for Sky Moore. I don't see him. We talked about that Tuesday as well. Nate, you got the eye in the sky. I've looked at the all 22 a little bit.
I listened. He was ineffective. But I put that on the coaching staff. Seth, tell me how your eyes.
Nate, you're really quiet now, and that's even weirder.
Oh no, what is happening to me, ladies and gentlemen? Oh my goodness.
Seth, you're also hearing Nate be very, very quiet,
Nick,
right?
Can anybody hear this?
I can hear you.
We're good now.
So I blame the coaching staff for Sky Moore because he was ineffective, is what I said earlier. But watching the game in the live 22, then watching post live 22 on Wednesday before I wrote a story about the receivers. This ain't it, Matt Nagy. This really isn't it. Seth, I don't know if they ran a play for Sky Moore beyond the first third down in the red zone, which Sky ran the route poorly, to which Mahomes kind of showed him up in front of 70,000 people. Like, what are you doing?
And Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. So,
I would melt if someone showed me up in front of Hugh Jackman.
I don't think they run plays for Sky Moore, or they didn't run plays for Sky Moore past the original game. Like,
There's an
the gameplay
interesting
script.
statistic on this. This was from last year, and it's like a next gen stat type thing. And this is one of the cool things about some of these stats. You can see they really can, if someone who knows what they're doing is willing to look at it, you can see who the first read is on, when the quarterback's hitting the top of his drop. That's generally who he's going to be looking at, unless he's leading guys away with his eyes. But you should be able to tell that based on the coverage, based on the routes run. And Sky Moore had a very, very low percentage of being the guy, the first read, the first called. The other interesting thing, and I think that stayed the same way this year, and the other interesting thing with Moore is some of the routes they're having him run, I don't know if they're necessarily doing him any favors, because with Moore, he has really good releases. He can get open off the line of scrimmage, but he does not have that. I just don't see, he looks explosive at times, and then other times he just doesn't, to where if he's like, say, running a crosser, the defender will catch up. He doesn't have long speed. And I would love to see it. I would love to see them try to utilize him in a few other ways. And maybe he does have long speed and I'm just missing it. But like the strength through contact stuff, he's just not separating the way that he ought to. And he's not a quick enough guy, which is weird because his releases are excellent. So quick. But when he's got to turn his hips and he's got to change direction mid-route, he just does not have that same quickness, which is a bummer. And so, I mean, again, I'm never ready to give up on a guy. I would love to see a little more, but he already, I think if you watch him and Rice against zone coverage, I think Rice already looks,
close.
Rice already looks way more comfortable there. And that's why you see Rice is ahead of the normal rookie curve.
Right.
And it's at least interesting, but eventually they are going to run into a game plan where someone says, we are going to play man. We're going to have someone halo Kelsey. And Kelsey doesn't separate as well against man as he does against zone. He can just make contested catches all day against, some 5'11" corner. But they're going to say, we're going to do this, and we're still going to try to keep two safeties over the top to where we don't have MVS deep. Someone's got to separate. Or Mahomes has to scramble for a first down. And those are like the only two options that seem to avail themselves.
Well, Josh, how many first downs has Patrick Mahomes scrambled for this season? It happens to lead the league.
I don't know what the number is, but I saw the Mina Kimes tweet that was fascinating of him having the highest success rate scrambling on third down, because it just feels like it. I don't know if this was on the show or not, but to me, the thing I always hear when Patrick Mahomes takes off is I just hear him go, yeah, okay. Like he's getting up out of it, like an old man getting out of his chair. Like, all right, fine, I'll handle it myself. Like, somebody at the door, no one's going to answer the phone. All right, I'll do it. Like that's what it always feels like for Mahomes, because it's not the direction he actually wants to go with it, but it's, definitely effective, which rules. I'm always happy to see it.
So he has 11 first downs when scrambling this year. That's
crazy.
More than any quarterback in the league. It is a function of, finally, every defensive coordinator, even Brian Flores, you can listen to us, baby. Don't blitz this man on third down. It's the stupidest thing you can do.
Right.
I'm sure we'll see it on Sunday. So it's a function of defense is not blitzing, first and second read not getting open.
Yeah.
Therefore,
and that's where, when you've got man coverage looks, those are open to scrambles. And, they talk about that on the broadcast. They do a pretty good job with it. And this is where it's tough for teams. I don't know if you're ever going to see a lot of teams go with pure man stuff throughout the game. For one thing, at the NFL level, that's just not done much. Because if they start doing it, Andy Reid is going to call mesh 400 times in a row and just watch guys run into each other. So you can't, you have to mix it up a ton. But the other thing, because of Mahomes' scrambling ability, and when you combine that with Kelsey, and as much as he hasn't done as much as I would have liked to see this year, MVS, you force teams to make kind of weird decisions because you can't really do single high with man coverage because MVS can run away from guys deep, like the AFC Championship.
If they're not Sauce Gardner and holding his hips.
Oh my goodness.
15 yards past the line of scrimmage. My favorite thing, I was like, oh, so this is how Sauce gets down. Oh,
Yeah.
you running a deep post?
Yep, I'm gonna
on
grab them
hips.
hips. Let me just tug on. And that's the other thing the Chiefs have for years, and this includes when they have Tyreek Hill, have had some struggles in games, like a lot of offensive teams do, when guys are allowed to hold. And that's anyone. I mean, and hey, look, before anyone's like, oh, yeah, there's games where the Chiefs defensive backs get pretty darn grabby. And if you let Jalen Watson or L'Jarius Sneed is so grabby. He'll get grabby down the field. And by the way, he just atomized Garrett Wilson a couple times. Like just started like treated him like almost like he thought Wilson was a blocker on a pass play and just started shoving him backwards. I didn't even know you could do that. I did not know that was a thing, but apparently it is. So anyway, so
You just can't miss.
You just can't.
You just
Yeah,
can't
no, if you
miss.
miss, because man, Wilson can play. I did not think Wilson was as good as he's been. He's been so impressive. But so with the Chiefs, with man coverage, you have to make certain choices because you really do still need to kind of halo Kelsey. You really do still need to probably play too high because he'll throw to Justin Watson down the field too if he's in man.
Right.
So you need too high, you need to halo, but you really need to spy Mahomes. And the problem is we're running out of defenders.
Yes. Or
And-
drop 9. Drop
Yep.
9 in the covers. Somebody do it, guys.
I am curious
said it.
about that.
I've said it for years. Rush 2, drop 9 in the red zone. Just see what happens.
Just see what he does. That would be interesting. I don't even know what he'd do other than like maybe shout at the available offensive lineman, hey, we're going straight ahead. They're giving us 5 yards.
They need like a code word of like bulldozer, and then they just shift into they transform into road grader mode. I think that's a good idea.
So I just reposted a post. I have not checked these stats. I have
But
no
you
reason
call
to
it
think.
GEHA Field too.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I retweeted something that I saw. And I haven't checked these stats, but I actually, they look right based on what I know.
Okay.
And I don't think this person would make them up. Red Tribe Cinema, shout out to Red Tribe Cinema for this stat because I think it's interesting. They also made the greatest Jamal Charles video I've ever seen. So, that my hats off to them. Chiefs wide receivers in the first 4 games in 2022. 45 receptions, 574 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2023, 45 receptions, 588 yards, 2 touchdowns.
It's basically the same stats if you take away Richie James and Justin Ross, who have each had 1 reception. Yes.
Yeah. And so now
Let Andy
statistics
cook.
can lie. I just think that there's been a lot of
Chef's kiss
angst.
on the end of the tweet. Just
let Andy cook.
Andy
Let-
cook.
Let him cook.
But what is he cooking though? Through 4 weeks.
And that's where you have to, be honest with yourself about statistically things might look similar, but on film they might look a little different.
On
And
film,
that's
I think they
where
look a lot different without Juju Smith-Schuster's
They do.
reliability.
they need a legitimate wide receiver too. And Juju Smith-Schuster is a legitimate wide receiver too when he was healthy last year. And that's where I think their best shot at it is Rashee Rice. But then you need a legitimate wide receiver too against man coverage. And can Rice be that guy? I don't know. He just Rice is absolutely, so we got a comment, SH991 says Rice seems to be ahead of where Sky was last year. 100%.
Correct.
It's not even
Correct.
close.
Yeah.
Way more comfortable in the offense, really explosive with the ball in his hands, looks very good against zone. It's just the problem is you got to be able to separate against man or find some way to hurt them when it's one-on-one. He's a big, strong receiver with a nice catch radius, made really tough catches in college. So maybe that's why he wins, because that's what Juju... Juju wasn't really a guy that separated against man anymore, but he could catch the back shoulder throw, and he had a little bit of juice on shorter routes, with whips and that kind of stuff. So they need someone to do it, because otherwise you get in a situation where you do have just enough bodies. If you have high-level guys that you can play man across the board and halo Kelsey and maybe spy Mahomes, and now what? And that's the types of defenses they're going to need to be able to beat. Although I wrote about this a little bit, and I know we got to take a break eventually here, and I'm bringing us all over the place. But the Jets defense, when you turn on the film, for one, they were very grabby, but they're also, that secondary is really good, really fast, really comfortable, and in terms of really comfortable being left one-on-one and staying with guys down the field. And that pass rush, they got a lot of guys. They got a lot of guys. Like Juwan Taylor doesn't normally get beat around the edge twice in one game, by a non-elite guy, and that happened there. Trey Smith, maybe the roughest pass protection game I've seen from him in a year, because he had some rough snaps against stunts. They really struggled with stunts, and he had 3 different times where Quentin Williams just, what can you do?
Yeah.
Closest, and so the Jets aren't necessarily a template, but you're going to have to beat a defense of that caliber, at least one, to get to and or win a Super Bowl.
I got 2 little receiver press conference conspiracy theories that, Nate, I want to get you in particular because you would have been there for all these.
Yes.
I got one thing from Mahomes yesterday and then one thing from Matt Nagy today, and I want to see if it passes the sniff test for you guys. So yesterday, Mahomes was asked about Rashee Rice, and then after that was asked about Sky Moore. And when he started his answer about Sky Moore, he opened it up with, yeah, we got a lot of young guys. Yeah, same deal, a lot of young guys. The starting of his answers about Rashee Rice and Sky Moore were virtually identical. It was, these young guys, which that's just sparked by Rashee Rice might be ahead of Sky Moore where he was last year for sure. He might be ahead of Sky Moore right now, which for me is not the be-all end-all of I'm out on Sky Moore now, because these are 2 small school guys who have different playing styles and whatever. Like they're also both born in the year 2000. They're like 6 months apart, I think.
I just choose to believe that the coaching staff has done more for Rashee Rice on play calls than for Sky Moore.
For sure. And I think that Mahomes there just kind of putting those guys in the same bucket I just thought was interesting. I also thought Matt Nagy said something today. I believe he said it twice. That is directly contrary to something Andy Reid said, I think in week 2, after week 2, I think, leading up to week 3, where somebody, maybe you, Nate, I don't know, asked Andy Reid, hey, is this still a time in the season? Spags always says he's taken a month to evaluate what he's got. He talked about that more today also. Is that true for you, for the receivers, for the offense? And Andy Reid said, no, I think I know what we got. Richie James was still healthy at that point.
Right.
So that, whatever that puts in the timeline. Now I feel like I know what we got, got a pretty good feel on it. Just got to get him out there, whatever. Today, Matt Nagy says, this is for our wide receivers, for Patrick, for our tight ends, for us as coaches. This part of the season, we're starting to really learn who these guys are as wide receivers. I don't know if you're week to week. This isn't necessarily the offense type of offense. You're going to see one guy who has 18 targets every week. That's just not us. It always has kind of been that way. Obviously, he then alludes to outliers like, Tyreek Hill, whatever. But we have a lot of guys that are learning to play wide receiver within this offense, and we're learning who they are. Just a little bit of both, and then just continuing to grow that. So when we get to the end of the season, we're rolling. Andy Reid said, whenever Richie James was still around, we know what we got. Matt Nagy said today, we're still figuring out what these guys can do. Talked about Justin Ross also. We're learning what routes he's good at, and he's learning what he can get better at.
Right? Which I was like, okay.
Not exactly a vote of confidence.
Right?
It's very
but
direct.
I thought that was all very interesting from Nagy, where it seems pretty clearly like, no, we this is not anywhere near our finished product. And Andy Reid kind of bristled at that a tiny bit whenever that was that he talked about it. And of course, Andy Reid's a very good longtime NFL head coach. He can lie in a press conference. So it's interesting when you see the team say 2 different things not very far apart.
This is a just perfect observation by you, Mr. Brisco, because the Chiefs for years have presented themselves as, and I'm talking more or less the offensive coaching staff, because Andy does give the defense a grace period before, okay, what we doing? Okay, it's time to play football. It's going to get cold soon. What we got? But the way Andy and his offensive staff have presented themselves is, no, the season starts when it says it starts, and we know who we are. And it's about having such an advantage because we're trying to squeeze every second out of training camp so that we do not look like our peers, which is essentially what September becomes. And I'm not the first person to say this, but it's a trend that is even infecting the Chiefs, where the first month of the season is truly in pseudo extension of the preseason. And even though Andy Reid plays Patrick Mahomes and the first team starters those first 2 weeks in the preseason, even though we know he lying to us when he says the ones will get a quarter, the twos will get a quarter, and the threes and fours will get the third and fourth, even though we know he lying to our faces. They've always sort of said that, like, no, the reason we average 35 points on opening day in the Patrick Mahomes era before this season was because we're ahead, because we spend all of OTAs, the mandatory minicamp, and training camp actually knowing who we are more than our opponent knows who they are. And this is one of the rare cases where that is not true, because Matt Nagy just told us that, basically. It is, I think, accelerated because they went into the first game of the season saying, we know who we are. We know who we are. Did he just... What the hell is he doing on the turf? What the? Huh? Hey, Kels, you good? Hey! Why are you hobbling? What?
Breaking news, we got a new Nate character. Glasses on the tip of his nose. It's a good one.
What the hell? It's Tuesday. What time we play? We play 7 o'clock on Thursday.
By moving your glasses 2 inches, Nate, you aged 20 years. It was crazy to look at.
I can't tell you guys how fast Coach was like, no, yeah, I gotta go. I don't know if he's gonna play, y'all. I gotta go, okay? I gotta go figure some things out. He knew Travis Kelce wasn't playing on Tuesday, okay? He just didn't want the Lions to know that. But he bolted that first, like, quote-unquote Friday because he knew he didn't have his tight end, and therefore, we in trouble. And not, like, bad trouble, just like, how many reps do we take without Travis Kelce? Let me tell you, kids, not that many. So they had to go through a walkthrough that felt so weird to everybody because Travis Kelce's not there, obviously. They play on opening night. They struggle, of course. Kelce comes back, but he's not fully healthy the following week. Obviously, I told you all that, and how he sort of like, I don't know who's going to get to write the Kelce book. I would love to have the opportunity, I guess, but it would be one of the more fascinating points of his career to be like, yes, everybody knows you're dating Taylor Swift. Everybody knows that you are uber duper important to the offense. You're trying to repeat as champions, and whether you wanted to admit it at the time, whether I wanted to admit it at the time, even though I wrote it in The Athletic, I kind of wrote that this was like probably the last great year of Travis Kelce. And it started with the hyperextended knee. And if you make that knee worse in week 2, the whole season could go a different way. And the way he sort of lived through that tells you that was a really pivotal point of the year. And now we get further and further away from that, and the offense still doesn't look right because of penalties, because of turnovers, because of drops. Like, everybody on offense has a drop that they're just like, ugh, like, I don't feel good about that. So they don't know who they are, and it's fascinating. And it's why I believe, ladies and gentlemen, it's a big week for Kadarius Toney. Like, an extremely big week. I cannot stress enough. By game 5, you kind of got to know what your receiver's doing, right? But he's often hurt and out of the lineup. And Andy Reid told me on Wednesday when I asked him, hey, what about Kadarius Toney? Nate, let's see how this week goes. And I said, Coach, I didn't actually say this, but in my head I said, Coach, we've been saying that for 17 weeks. Because he's been on the roster for almost a year. But you know what I do know, Coach? He gets open. And y'all have chosen to not use him. So, all that to say is, Josh, you're so right. They actually don't know what they have with their receivers, which is wild because they're 3-1. Do you know how hard that is? It's incredibly hard to be 3-1 and not know who your number 1 is, who your number 2 is, and we should probably get Sky Moore some reps, but where is Sky on the depth chart, kids? Is he 3? Is he 5? You're not wrong, because I don't know the answer, and neither does Matt Nagy. So they actually need to make decisions on Sunday, because you turn around and you play a god-awful Denver Broncos team on Thursday. So you have really no practice time between after you play the Vikings and you playing the Broncos. So you have to make decisions actually today. You have to make decisions now. Who is getting the snaps outside of, honestly, we love him. We mean no disrespect. Justin Watson can't be your leading receiver. It just can't happen. So you know what you have to do? You have to make the decision to take him off the field more. And that means Kadarius Toney has to play how many snaps, Josh? How many snaps will be a season high for Kadarius Toney?
Well, season high over Detroit, I don't know. He was on the field. He had to be on the field enough to drop like 14 passes. Did you say a number?
Like 19 passes.
Okay, I was gonna say like 25 or 30. I feel like might be enough.
Here's the interesting thing.
His season high is 19 snaps. Wow. He needs, if he plays.
Do you ever get tired of how much I know ball, Josh? Like,
he knows so much.
I wish either of you knew a damn thing about clock management. That's really what I wish.
All I'm trying to say is I want every listener to realize this. Kadarius Toney has not played 20 snaps this season.
That's crazy.
It's crazy in a game. He's played more than that in this season, but in a single game, he's only played 19 or fewer snaps. He was supposed to be their number one receiver.
It sounds like
Justin Watson.
Sounds like they took a pretty big gamble at the wide receiver position, Josh.
Look, Seth, I don't need a segue from you because I already have the best segue. Hey, Tucker, I hear it's going to be a big week for Kadarius Toney.
It absolutely will be a big week for Kadarius Toney. And the NFL season, much like Kadarius Toney, is going strong. And DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking up new customers with an offer that's even stronger. Bet $5 on any NFL game this week and score $200 instantly in bonus bets. And DraftKings is not stopping there. All customers can take advantage of a sweetener offer every game day this October. The Chiefs versus Vikings line, that line has fallen from 5.5 all the way down to 3.5 in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. So go check that out at DraftKings Sportsbook. And you can get in on the game day greatness by downloading that DraftKings Sportsbook app now and using code KCSN, where new customers can bet just $200 and instantly get new customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet 5 on the NFL. That's code KCSN only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, Louisiana. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Back to you, Joshua.
Thank you, Tucker. We're having a hard time today. We didn't have Nate last week. Nate has so many last episode. Nate has so many observations. Seth wrote about the offensive line.
For first-time listeners, let me just tell you.
No people are listening to this for the first time.
Yeah,
we're done getting new listeners.
We've lost all of them. Yes, by the way, all the people that are saying Kyle Pitts, there's your answer. Someone rescue. Someone rescue.
Dun. Break into the facilities, dude. I don't care. Kidnap him.
Call them and be like, hey, he got a couple cheap years left. You guys clearly don't like him that much. We will give you third and fourth. I don't know. Yeah.
What? Real quick. What's your guys' best offer for Kyle Pitts? And then I want to talk about the offensive line.
A 2025 third rounder that can become a second rounder based on performance-based incentives, playing time, other nonsense.
I would do that in a heartbeat. Seth, can you beat that?
I would be willing to do a 2024 third rounder that could become a second rounder. And maybe I've looked at new people. This is exactly how it goes every week. It's one of the comments.
All three of us.
Everyone, don't believe them. They're lying that it might be better. Whoa. You guys ever see the movie The Ring?
Yeah.
I'm gonna close my computer behind me.
No, look, they just had an Exorcist sequel come out, right? How about The Ring Light? And that's the new horror movie.
Someone wakes up, there's a ring light above their bed.
No.
Anyway,
I thought for sure you guys would say that you'd give up a first for Kyle Pitts. I'm still kind of in that headspace, honestly.
So here's the deal. I've looked at enough of Kyle Pitts, and I've talked to a few people that watch a lot more Falcons film than I do. That guy, you want someone who can separate against man? There you go. Because he can, and someone needs to rescue him because it's bad. But anyway, I know we're done talking about that. I know people have floated Hollywood Brown. The problem is he's in the last year of a contract it's like $13 million this year. And he's not bad. He can separate against man a little.
The Chiefs don't need another third or fourth receiver. Like,
right.
We talked about this on Monday too. We've covered all that.
That's very accurate. The other thing, it is worth noting at the very least that it's not out of the realm of the skill set of Tony or Rice I'm hanging on here, Sky Moore, to provide what Juju provided last year. And that's all they need. That's all they need. Low key, another dude they're missing, McCole Hardman. Because I understand Hardman's not able to grab playing time with the Jets. The Chiefs were good at putting him in a position to maximize what he could do. But outside of the niche stuff, the jet sweeps and that kind of quick, immediate offense stuff, those crossers that Reid loves to run, McCole Hardman wasn't a great route runner, but he could run away from anyone on those crossers. And he made some big-time third down catches last year and every year he was with the Chiefs. So they're missing that just little extra juice. They have guys in the room that can do the things Juju Smith-Schuster did last year. I think they're banking on it a little more than I'm comfortable with. And that was always the problem, right? Was the floor. And so it's just a lot.
I'd give the Jets that J.C. Jackson haul for McCole Hardman.
I don't, you know what? I'm gonna shut my mouth. I don't need to criticize anybody right now.
Was this J.C. Jackson adjacent to criticism?
No. Don't need to go there. Don't need to go there. You know,
show's already gone so long on like one topic, but now this is the part that I'm like, well, when Nate shows us he's hiding something.
You know, guys, I'm going to transition us away from my thoughts, and I'm just gonna say, ultimately, there is a trade deadline. It is, I believe, I can actually look this up so that I can give people the hope that they're asking for. All right, everybody understands that the Chiefs play the Miami Dolphins on November 5th in Germany. What I'm telling you is the next pivotal date in the NFL calendar is actually Halloween. So
is that the deadline? The deadline's Halloween?
That's the deadline this year, kids. It's usually early November, but the way the schedule fell out this year, it is October 31st at 3 o'clock Central Time. All trading ends for the current season. Now, you could do some things, interestingly, with franchise tag players on November 14th. They don't have a franchise tag player. Now, the Chiefs, I'm meaning. Basically, you have 2 more weeks because teams will start to initiate some level of phone communication around October 15th.
Right. And you know the Panthers are going to outbid you for someone. At least if we're to believe every report that's out there.
Yeah, I think that's a bit semantic-y, I guess. Because they're bad guys. And so they don't need to win another game. Have they won a game this season? No, they haven't. So they don't need to win another game.
Marvin
this
Harrison
season.
Jr. But
hey guys, bad news about the Panthers' first round pick this year.
It's not theirs.
Not theirs.
Good call.
So you remain right, Seth. They need Marvin Harrison Jr. They just can't get him because they have Bryce Young.
Right. All I'm saying is Sunday's important because that's an actual NFL team. I don't know what the hell they doing in Denver, okay? They don't even know what they are doing. Are we going to see Frank Clark ever again? That was a discussion I had a little bit ago. Man, Sean Payton going through it, y'all. And y'all don't even know. Who he going through it? Man, he should not have taken that job.
No.
I am saying that on a live microphone right now, but guys, Sean Payton going through it. All this is to say is that really we have a 2-game sample to evaluate this team before you can really start clamoring for, all right, Veach, do it again. You got Melvin Ingram. You got Kadarius Toney. Give me somebody. Now, if you look at over the cap, they kind of restricted. But yeah, the deadline is this is better information than I can give you versus the J.C. Jackson transaction. My God. But that's I'm not gonna say what I heard because it's not important.
If we beg you, will you?
No, I can't. I honestly can't, guys.
All right.
Maybe after the deadline when everything settles, but
I can't believe the Chiefs offered a 5th for J.C. Jackson, Nate. That's crazy.
No. Tucker,
clip this. Make this the clip, Tucker.
Don't do this.
Cut it before Nate says no.
No. Don't do this. Don't do this to me.
I'm not doing this. I didn't do this. I didn't do any of this.
All
That was
I'm
a
saying.
joke. I don't know anything.
All I'm saying, yes, you will
Clip
see
that.
me. You will see me, Neil, in Frankfurt. I'm eagerly awaiting.
Wait. Oh, that's gonna be so good.
So,
and by the way, I did book my travel so that I could be on the show the following Monday.
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
From Germany at God knows what time.
What time is it in Frankfurt right now?
It's bad, man. It's really bad. Send a prayer.
12:30 a.m. We'll start the show at like 11 something p.m. It could have been worse. This will be a real late night for you.
Do you think a pub will let me do this?
Yes.
Do you think a pub will
will
let
that
me
dude
do
from
this?
the airport be there?
I mean, I could ask him. It's a long way from Jacksonville, but we'll see. He. By the way, after I left the show to board my flight, we did not make eye contact again. So I don't know what happened, guys. Okay, I don't know. I did talk to the ladies who were in front of me, which was at a as I said on the show, like a coffee shop of local business in Jacksonville's airport, and they had a chuckle at like, you were on a podcast? And I said, yes, ma'am. And now I got to go home. But can I have another latte?
Yeah, I've been here for a minute now.
So, wow, Neil, it's 11:35 where you are. God bless
Respect.
Shout out to
I have hope for people with regards to the wide receiver thing, if they want to hear it.
Sure. Give people optimism, Seth.
Yes.
Hey, Chase Claypool's inactive again tonight. Is that what you were gonna say?
Yeah. Here's
now.
the,
I do know some things about Chase Claypool.
Tomlin made Antonio Brown look sane for years.
An incredible point.
If he couldn't get through to Chase Claypool, nobody's getting through that man.
That dude held Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and Ben Roethlisberger together
hostage,
and he made it work.
Yes. Hostage.
Tomlin, you could talk about like his choice in offensive coordinator this year and some of this, like whether or not you think he's incredibly, like he's not like a game changer schematically. He's a really good coach, but he is an incredible leader and manager of men in the locker room. And we've got enough evidence for that. And if you just turn on the tape with Claypool, the dude's not really trying
at all.
And so you don't need that because you never know when he'll stop trying. That's all you know about that player before he's in your locker room is that he will quit. I mean, that's the only thing you know.
If things go a certain direction, yes.
Right. And how are you to say it won't go the way he wants it to go there? But anyway, here's the thing with Sunday night. It's really easy, and we talked about this a little bit on Monday, but it's really easy to kind of almost become myopic and when we try to find the one thing that went wrong in every game. But the reality is the offensive line had a bad night in pass protection. A genuinely bad night. I've had people ask me about Juwan Taylor because he's become like the national whipping boy. This was the first game where he had an average to below average game in pass protection. Every other game, he's been awesome in pass pro. There's just been that penalty stuff that's been rough. He had a couple of tough beats, but really the major problem in pass protection, they struggled against stunts, and Trey Smith had one of his worst pass protection games I've seen him have. And that's just rough. Some games are like that. And the Jets also dialed up some really cool blitzes where you utilize, I try not to get deep in the weeds on this stuff. So they utilize blitzes where they would have the linebacker as though he were going to go straight up against Creed, but then they would almost perform a stunt type action where the defensive tackle would flash across the face of Creed, hit him from an angle he wasn't expecting, and the linebacker would loop around. And wait a minute, hang on, what I'm saying is not important.
No, I just was looking around because I was trying to make sure I wasn't rolling over Scout. I just go ahead and let everybody know that Scout's been in here the whole podcast and hasn't made a peep.
That's because Scout is a very good dog.
Scout is the best dog.
Team player.
Also, shout out, I don't know if you guys saw, but Brisco the dog did get adopted recently. So Brisco the wiener dog has apparently found a home. Not our home, though. We have this one.
So here's the thing to keep in mind with the game Sunday night. It wasn't just, the wide receivers were never, ever, ever open. That's an oversimplification. It wasn't a never, ever, ever open thing. There were times when guys were open, and I've lost Nate. Nate's gone.
Well, T-Bone on the comments is just didn't need to know that fact, but thank you.
Oh, man, Tucker,
good Lord have mercy.
Thank you.
Tucker hasn't even put that one on the screen, so I don't even know what that
He
was,
doesn't
but
need
apparently
to.
it's not good. All right, cool.
So
let me tell you where I won't be when we're recording this show from Germany.
Yeah, not from a club like that. So poor Josh is going to be very curious about this. So
whoa, what?
the issues the offense were having, it's an oversimplification to say the guys were never open, because there were snaps where guys were open. Noah Gray was open down the field, and Mahomes short-armed it. Yeah. MVS had room to work back towards the ball, and the ball slipped out of his hand on a downfield throw, and Sauce Gardner grabbed his hips.
Sauce Gardner was still grabbing him. Hey, where you going? Where you going, baby? Where you going? Where you going? Where you going?
Him.
I got a reputation to hold on.
Yeah,
hold on.
Hold on. Yeah.
Yep. And so there were plays where guys were open. There were a couple plays where Watson had some room, where Moore had some room, where Rice had some room. These plays did happen. The problem is twofold. The offensive line really struggled, and that's where, like, I'll have people send me screenshots sometimes of, this guy's open, and it's like, yes. Do you see the defender 2 yards in front of Mahomes sprinting towards him? And, even Mahomes has to drop his eyes and at least evade. And so it was kind of like something went wrong on every play. You know how we've talked about kind of the math of pass rushing, where if you've got one dude who wins at a 25% rate and one dude that wins at a 15% rate, one dude that wins at a 10% rate, blah, 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 right? You're less likely to have one snap where no one gets pressure. Think of the inverse with an offense. You've got, this is what I wrote about on the Chief of the North newsletter. If you are having a night where multiple things are going wrong, let's say you've got 50 dropbacks total, and on 15 of them, the offensive line gives up quick pressure. Those plays are maybe dead in the water, maybe not when you have Patrick Mahomes, but it's much, much more difficult, and it doesn't matter if guys were open initially because of the pressure, right? You move immediately into scramble drill type stuff. Or let's say your quarterback just has a weirdly unusual night in terms of accuracy, and a guy that normally throws maybe 4 or 5 inaccurate throws a game, throws on a game he didn't throw the ball that many times compared to normal. I charted him as 6 inaccurate passes, or not 6, 8, I'm sorry. And that's a high number for Mahomes if he's throwing the ball 50 times, let alone, 40 or whatever it was. Then that goes wrong. And then you add in the receivers to it, and now all of a sudden, out of 50 dropbacks or however many you have, suddenly you've only got like maybe 15 plays where something wasn't going wrong. And and then when that happens, you go 3 and out and you punt, or you turn the ball over and you don't have more opportunities to make things go right. So it's like a bad snowball. It's a snowball of doom. So that's just, I really want to let people know, it wasn't just a receiver thing. I'm going to post the Mahomes film review soon here. He was just not accurate.
On 30 pass attempts, by the way.
On 30. That's very unusual for him.
25% or something, right?
He's generally a highly accurate quarterback, and the couple of the picks he threw, they were just bad throws, and that's unusual for him. If he throws a pick, it's usually because it's a tip pass or maybe he took a risk that he shouldn't have. It's not him. Like on one of his picks, both of his picks, he had good protection. On the second pick, he kind of drifted right into getting hit. That's a bad play. On the other one, he had beautiful protection and a receiver that probably wasn't open, but certainly wasn't open when you short arm it by 10 yards. So those things matter too, and that's where to place it all on the receivers who were up against an unusually high-level secondary, who was allowed to play an unusually physical style of ball, and are a well-coached team, that's not the game to watch and say, nope, I've given up on them. So give it a couple weeks. Now, we got a little evidence in weeks 1 through 3 as well that the receivers might have some stuff, but all you need is one to hit. That's all you need.
All right, let me look at the injury report one more time because I know what it says, but I mean, come on, guys. Hey, look at Jalen Watson. Good for him. He was a full participant today. Wanye Morris was limited today with a hip.
That was a surprise. Yeah.
That's a new bit of detail. Nick Bolton. I know he's limited today. Yesterday, he's expected to play.
Oh, really? Spag sounded like he was not expecting him to play. I was going that direction. Interesting.
I think Nick Bolton will play Sunday. If everything goes the way it's trending.
I mean, and Seth, if you got your choice between 100% of Drew Tranquil or like a 75% Nick Bolton, you're taking Nick Bolton every time, right?
I am not.
Oh, okay.
I think Nick Bolton should get right. The linebackers have played well. Get right. Get all the way healthy, man. You're
Now,
4 deep at that position.
Now you could say this point too, and I need to make this clear. If this was a week coming into a normal week, or one right after this, and I would be even more confident in saying Nick Bolton will play on Sunday. They could make a decision pretty close to game time where it says we play the Broncos on Thursday. Do we need to push it with Nick Bolton? So that might come into the equation. I should have mentioned that earlier. But based on what I saw today and the way it's been trending, honestly, if the game was of like huge importance, I think Nick Bolton would have played against the Jets. But again, the team is trying to be diligent with basically the management of his body moving forward. And you don't want to make an ankle injury worse. I know some people in the comments have said, could the ankle have bothered Mahomes in Sunday's game against the Jets? I wonder if it was the ankle and him playing on that turf for the first time. There were a few snaps on the All-22 that make no sense to me with Mahomes' movement, and I wonder if that was turf-related just because he's never played on that stadium and on that field before. So, look, and he got kind of lackadaisical with his footwork. So, again, it's hard to tell if that was injury-related, a lapse in just fundamentals, or if he wanted to trust his arm more than the normal foundation of his feet. I'm jumping around to all the places. All I'm trying to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is Kadarius Toney was a full participant yesterday and today. And if there's nothing else I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's an important week for Kadarius Toney.
Feels like
What do you guys think's gonna happen then?
Go
ahead and go
read
read the
an
rest.
hour and 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's been one of those. And Seth, the stunt aspect and like the poor communication from the interior, I thought was super duper interesting. So if you want to read more about the offensive line, that's the Chief of the North newsletter. Seth didn't give out the URL because he hates money. bit.ly/Seth really hates money. If you're a new subscriber, that's the promo link, or just mnchiefsfan.substack.com. And, of course, Nate's been writing on The Athletic, little Isaiah Pacheco, little receiver stuff, everything there from New York, if you weren't reading all of his stuff immediately post-game and everything this week. Uh-oh, Nate's looking at his phone making sad noises.
Dick Buckus died.
Oh, that stinks.
Damn.
He was 80.
That's a bummer.
That's sad.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
just so you know, if you let the silence hang, I will start sermonizing here. But I feel for his family, and if you're the praying sort, pray for the Buckus family.
Yes, please do.
He was tweeting like 5 days ago. So I was just thinking that he kind of had a little bit of like a resurgence in the public space because he hopped on Twitter, whatever that was, a year or so ago, and we all learned that he's very funny.
Yes.
And so that's sort of a sad, very sad development there.
Chiefs 30, Vikings 30. Overtime, Chiefs 34. None of this makes any sense.
Hey, Nate, I really don't think they're going to score 4 points exactly in overtime. Not to nitpick, but
none of this makes sense. Wow, I really caught myself in the air, guys. I guess I missed you all. So very much.
You tried to dunk
Chiefs
from the
30,
free throw
Vikings
line and
30,
remembered
Chiefs
that you're.
score 4 in overtime. 2 safeties. Not sure that's legal.
You can't do this to Vikings fans, by the way. Don't
Chiefs-
make them lose an overtime game.
Oh, I love that. That's a great
Chiefs 27, Vikings 26. Harrison Butker wins it at the buzzer.
idea. Ooh. Seth, you wait because you're going to be there. I'm going to say, I don't know why I believe in the Chiefs offense making it work, but I kind of do. I think Brian Flores blitzes too much. Chiefs 34, Vikings 24. 10-point win.
Man, dang, I was gonna use that one.
You're going to go 34-24?
I was. So instead I'm gonna say 37-24. And the Chiefs make it in a flip of what we saw this last week. Yeah. Anyway, the Chiefs make it look less close than it actually was with a relatively late touchdown. And by the way, Chiefs fans, I'll be there. My hair is going to be cut, so look for a guy with pretty much a shaved head. And
Are we sure about that?
Are we
for you?
sure?
That I'm
we
going to
sure?
cut my hair?
Yeah,
I know.
sure
I keep.
that's... No. That's not what either of us are talking about.
We're weeks into this.
I look, man, I don't
This
think...
was a very hurtful moment, guys.
No,
I
that's
love
not...
I love you too.
This is out of love. I don't know that you need to shave it down to the stubble. I feel like your hair right now is at a good, respectable place
It's
that doesn't
too-
make me ask a lot of questions about some of your maybe more radical, thoughts on things.
I'm not going to shave it all the way. You know what?
You
Honestly,
said shaved, and I
Anyway,
just don't think you need
Chiefs-
that. Your hair
Chiefs
looks
fans-
good right now. This is maybe the best your hair has ever looked in my humble opinion.
Yeah, but it's just I don't
Says
know.
You can
someone
get the
with-
sides, dude. Leave the side, leave the top where it is. Get somebody a set of clippers that I'll come to Kansas City. I will do this for you. I will shave the sides and back in a way that makes you that is cleaned up. That keeps
That's
the
how
lettuce
I
up top.
always. That's how I always did my hair for years and years and years. Was shorter, and then I actually gelled it and stuff. Josh does no
yeah.
hair,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm just
Back.
not.
Let's get you
I-
that LA gear. Let's
get-
get a pump of yellow hair goo.
Can we
I
get
just-
can we get some hair grease on Jazz's shoulder? That's all we want.
I just don't. I just don't care that much about my hair. But so anyway, what I was gonna
Josh
say
knows hair.
is that
Seth knows ball. Josh knows hair.
Chiefs fans, I'll be there with Jazz, not Josh. Jazz. Well, do you want to go? I don't know how
often
committed Jazz is
how
to
often does that
this.
happen, Seth?
Look, and I just saved my marriage with silence.
Where
So-
else can you get this podcast? Where else can you
saved
get
your
this
marriage
content?
and this
And
show.
you know what? If you see me, say hi. Nate, please end it.
Guys, I just want to remind you all that Blake Lively exists and that it's a pretty important week for Kadarius Toney. I cannot stress this enough.
What other kind of